Well, many of you remember the train derailment that happened near Mount Juliet Elementary back in March. Well, today there was an event held that allowed the administration from Mount Juliet Elementary to say thank you to all the emergency and first responders who came calling very quickly that afternoon. It's an emergency call that doesn't go out often. In fact, it even caught Mount Juliet Fire Chief Jamie Luffman by surprise.
Deputy Chief Edwards was in his office, I was in mine, and we heard that come out over the radio, and I hollered across the hall, I said, "Joe, that may be something we need to go to." And so
the wheels were quickly put into motion to evacuate students over to Mount Juliet Middle and alert parents of the situation, with afternoon dismissal getting very near. And one of the big questions following the incident was, how did this happen?
they were replacing the railroad ties, and when they do that, they pull the old ties out, put the new tie in, and then they have to shore up with some new gravel. And they were offloading that from one of the cars, and what happened was the load in there, they had offloaded from one side and not the other, and it just they were going very, very slow. I mean, barely moving at all, and it just, the weight of it just carried over the rock car, and when it did, it took about 11 or 12 other cars with it.
The incident, with all things considered, ended the best way it could. Students and teachers were safe, and the derailment ultimately didn't produce any extreme hazards.
We were very, very fortunate, but it was a good exercise to see our training that we on events that we don't do every day. Thank goodness we don't do train derailments and things like that every day. So, but the potential is always there, and so we have to be at our A-game level to mitigate successfully.
For Mount Juliet Elementary Principal Angela Kincaid, handling these emergency situations is part of her job, with safety for her students and staff her top priority. But sometimes it takes a village to make sure it all goes through as smooth as it can. She's grateful for her team.
Our faculty, staff and faculty have been fantastic as far as preparing for these kind of things. We truly are thankful to Mount Juliet Police. Wilson County Sheriff's, our SRO, Mike Callis, was fantastic as far as keeping us calm and in an orderly fashion as far as almost evacuating almost 800 people out of that building in such a short time.
Candidly, she admits that emergency response and just some downright unlucky incidents to her school has been common in recent years. From a classroom fire back in 2020 to an EF1 tornado that grazed her school's roof back in December to the train derailment in March. Yeah, emergency personnel knows the quickest way to get there by now.
We know the way. We know the way.
We have prevailed over every single disaster that has happened.
Today's event was all part of the News 2 Gives Back program, where they often highlight emergency and first responders for their work in their respective communities. Legendary local meteorologist and Wilson County resident Davis Nolan says he's grateful that this particular incident played out the way that it did. He recalls another similar incident where it ended in tragedy.
I was telling Chief Luffman earlier the story that when I was going to meteorology school at Florida State, Highway 231, which runs up from here in Lebanon all the way to Panama City, they had a train derailment along Highway 231, and it was a chlorine tanker exploded, and the gas was everywhere, and people died just driving down the highway. The gas came in their cars, they just died and pulled off the side of the road. That could have happened here, and I'm just blown away that how well trained they are. I knew they were, but to see them pull out the handbook and show me the placards, and then it tells you what to do and what kind of chemical it is. Turn to page 3, it tells you how do you respond to that. And it's fascinating, and it's comforting to know that these people are that well trained. It's enough to be responding, but you got to know what you're doing, or you can make it worse. And these people are just so impressive, and I want to thank them so much.
So to all our local first responders, we say thank you for all that you do and the sacrifices you make. You are always there when our schools need you, and it's very clear that whenever our paths cross, it's very evident that you love our students and teachers as much as we do. And that means more to us than you could ever know. I'm Bart Barker with Wilson County Schools.